Hey world, it's your girl Corinne here with another video, and today we're diving deep into another type of fasting, and that is your time restricted fasting. Now this is actually an intro, as there are two different types of fasting that I personally like, and I'll explore those more in a later video. But this is going to be my intro into the overarching what is time restricted fasting. Okay, so what is it? It's also known as time restricted feeding, or it's actually kind of just like another intermittent fasting, which is basically a dietary approach that involves restricting the timing of food intake to specific windows of time each day. Now, this practice typically alternates between periods of fasting and eating, or their fed state. And this is going to be within a predetermined time frame. Now, research suggests that time restricted fasting offers numerous health benefits, as all fasting does. Okay, and this is going to be great for your overall health and well-being. It is said to promote metabolic health because time restricted fasting can improve insulin sensitivity, blood sugar levels, and lipid profiles, which we'll go over a little deeper here shortly. This can potentially reduce metabolic disorders such as type 2 diabetes and even obesity. It can support weight management goals by regulating your appetite hormones and promoting fat oxidation. Now, time-restricted fasting may even aid in weight loss or weight management efforts. It can enhance cellular repair simply because fasting triggers cellular processes such as the autophagy, which removes the damaged or dysfunctional components in the body. Now, I've done a video all about autophagy, so go ahead and scroll over, look at that, and I can explain more about what that is. But it's super fascinating, at least I think it's fascinating. So anyway, time-restricted fasting can also boost cognitive function. In fact, there are some studies that suggest that time-restricted fasting may enhance brain health and cognitive function overall, which can potentially reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. Say that fast. Now, while time-restricted fasting can offer numerous benefits, it may not be suitable for everyone. So individuals with certain medical conditions, eating disorders, or specific dietary needs should consult with a healthcare professional before starting any fasting regimen. Now, for those considering time-restricted fasting, it's important to start gradually and then listen to your body's signals. Begin with a fasting window that feels comfortable, right? It also needs to be sustainable. So you can do something for like 12 to 16 hours per day and then adjust it as needed based on your personal goals and your lifestyle. Now, I'm sure someone out there is wondering, so what happens to my body when I do time-restricted fasting? And if you weren't, don't worry, you're thinking about it now because I just put it on your mind. You see what I did there? Well, okay, so overall, check this, my nerd moment, okay? So during time-restricted fasting, the body undergoes several physiological changes as it adapts to altered patterns of food intake and energy utilization. Your body shifts in metabolic state when fasting. Well, put it this way. It transitions from a fed state characterized as nutrient absorption and energy storage to a fasted state where stored energy reserves are mobilized to meet metabolic demands. Hopefully you kind of caught that. Anyway, this shift actually is going to trigger metabolic pathways, including glucogenesis, which is the production of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, and lipolysis, which is the breakdown of stored fat for energy. Now, as I mentioned earlier, insulin regulation occurs because with reduced food intake, insulin levels decrease, allowing for enhanced fat oxidation and utilization of stored energy sources. Okay. Now, this promotes metabolic flexibility, enabling the body to switch between your glucose and fat as primary fuel sources. Now, also, I mentioned briefly the activation of autophagy, which occurs in the body. This is a cellular process that removes damaged or dysfunctional components in the body. I know I said go look at the video. I'm probably going to go over a little bit here because it promotes cellular repair, rejuvenation. This may have implications for longevity, cellular health, and disease prevention. Like I said, it's super cool. Never mind, just go. I'm going to move on. It also helps with hormonal changes because fasting influences the secretion of various hormones involved in metabolism, appetite regulation, and energy balance. For example, so you have your levels of ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. And that initially increases signaling the body's need for nourishment, right? Now, while levels of leptin, the satiety hormone, may decrease, promoting appetite. Now, there is an enhanced ketone production as well, because extended fasting periods, like past your 12-16 hours, and when you're restricting carbohydrates, it can lead to an increased production of ketone bodies, which is that alternate fuel molecule derived from fatty acids. Now, ketones provide energy to tissues, including the brain, right? I told you it's great for brain. Also, your muscles and your heart. And during this time where your carbohydrates are depleted, ketones kicked in. It also improves cellular health because this type of fasting promotes cellular stress resistance and resilience through mechanisms such as hormesis, whereby exposure to mild stressors triggers adaptive responses that enhance cellular function and protects age-related decline. I know, right? And even diseases. There's also a potential benefit for inflammation and oxidative stress. In fact, some research actually suggests that fasting may reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in the body, which are implicated in the development of chronic diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and cancer. Time-restricted fasting also aligns eating patterns with the body's natural circadian rhythms, which is how your body is regulated through various physiological processes over a 24-hour cycle. Now, this may optimize metabolic function hormone secretion and overall health. Now, hold that thought, all right? Because the natural circadian rhythm, hold that thought, because that leads beautifully into my next point of one of the two of my favorite types of fasting. But I want to give you a bit of insight to the key stages that the body actually goes through during a time-restricted fast. And that is general for both of my favorites. And this is also just a general concept. Now, there are outliers out there where this does not apply. So take this with a grain of salt, okay? When you start time-restricted fasting, like your day one, generally your body's going to go through a post state, also known as the fed state. This stage occurs immediately after eating, lasting for several hours as the body digests and absorbs nutrients from the meal. Now, during this stage, insulin levels rise, facilitating the uptake of glucose into cells for energy production, and excess nutrients are stored for future use, primarily as glycogen in the liver and muscles, or as triglycerides, right, in the adipose tissue. Next, your body goes through an early fasting state as the post state ends, which is usually around 3 to 6 hours after the last meal. The body transitions into early fasting state. Now, insulin levels begin to decline here, signaling the shift from using dietary glucose to stored glycogen for energy. Okay, there's the two different. The liver then releases glucose through glycogenolysis, I think I'm saying that right anyway, to maintain blood sugar levels, while adipose tissue starts to release fatty acids for energy production through lipolysis. So from there, the glycogen depletion happens, and this is typically only when prolonged fasting occurs, right? So that 12 to 18 hours after that last meal. Glycogen stores become depleted, particularly in the liver. And as a result, the body increasingly relies on fat metabolism to meet energy demands. Now, this stage marks the transition from primarily using glucose to predominantly utilizing fatty acids and your ketones as fuels. That's the place that you want to be. Now, this is when ketosis kicks in, and that's because in the absence of sufficient glucose availability, the liver increases ketone production through fatty acid oxidation. This is how you're breaking down fat in the body. Now, ketosis typically occurs from that 12 to 24-hour fasting and is pretty much the starting point of the fasting state. If you can get past this, you'll enter into a stable fasting state. And once in a stable fasting state, usually beyond the 24 hours of fasting, the body continues to rely on fat metabolism and ketone production for energy. So try to do a fast longer than 24 hours. Now, appetite tends to decrease as hunger hormones such as the ghrelin become suppressed and satiety hormones such as leptin increase, as I mentioned before. Now, the body enters a state of metabolic efficiency, conserving energy and promoting cellular repair and rejuvenation through processes like autophagy. Okay. Now, when you do extended fasting, which is beyond the 24 hours that I recommend, the body may undergo additional adaptations to conserve energy and maintain vital functions. So don't use a whole lot of brain power or energy, okay? This adaptation decreases your metabolic rate, preserving lean muscle mass through increased production of growth hormone and further enhancement of ketone production for energy. So don't go lifting heavy weights, okay? Now, after you complete this, you enter into a refeeding phase, and then the fasting period ends, and then food is reintroduced into the body, transitions back into that post state, and initially insulin levels will rise, just know that, facilitating nutrient uptake and storage, particularly of glucose and amino acids for glycogen replenishment and protein synthesis. This is why you tend to bloat right after that, okay? And then your body's going to get ready to start the cycle all over again. Now, let's say you commit to this for at least 7 days, okay? Let me help you temper your expectations, all right? So day 1, you may feel energized and excited on the first day of embarking on a new time-restricted fasting journey, right? Many individuals feel energized and enthusiastic about the prospect of starting a new dietary approach. I got this, right? The initial sense of motivation and anticipation fuels your determination to stick to the fasting schedule, okay? Hold on to that. All right, this is when you want to make positive changes to your health and your lifestyle. Now, day 2, you have continued enthusiasm, right? As the fasting regimen progresses into it, the second day, individuals, yourself, start maintaining your enthusiasm and commitment to the plan, right? You may experience a sense of pride and accomplishment, like I've got this, and successfully navigating through the fasting and eating windows, day 2, right? Reinforcing your belief and your ability to adhere to the regimen. Keep this thought, right? Some slight discomfort may come here, but the motivation at this point is higher than the discomfort. Now, by day 3, potential willpower starts challenging, and that may happen, right? By day 3 of fasting, some individuals may encounter challenges to their willpower because now you're past that 24 hump, right? The novelty of the fasting experience may start to wear off, and feelings of hunger or cravings may intensify as the body adjusts to new eating patterns. Now, this can test individuals' determination and require conscious effort to resist temptation and to stay on track with your fasting goals. At this point, your ghrelin hormone is battling your leptin hormone. Spoiler alert, be on the side of leptin, okay? Now, this is also a great time to start journaling your thoughts, figuring out your why, and catch up on your sleep and just get to the next day faster, okay? If you can let your leptin win by day 4, resilience and adaptation will start to kick in. I promise it will. Despite facing temporary setbacks and willpower, which you often, during that time, like I said, I want you to demonstrate resilience and adaptability in overcoming your obstacles in your fasting journey. And you can do that by day 4. You may draw upon your inner strength and previous successes to navigate through moments of temptation or doubt, which will help reaffirm your commitment to achieving your health and wellness goals. Okay? Now, by day 5 is the renewed focus and motivation. As you progress further in the fasting regimen, you often experience a renewed focus. You're sleeping better, you're dreaming, you have motivation, and you continue with your fasting practice. You may reflect on your accomplishments, the downsides, how you didn't do it. You'll find that you're recommitting your goals, you're drawing inspiration from your progress, positive changes are coming, you're experiencing better health, well-being, the whole 9 yards. Now, by day 6, there's a consideration of habits that's kicking in. You may find that you have an adherence to the fasting schedule, so it's becoming easier. It's more ingrained and habitual by this point. The routine of fasting and eating within the designated window becomes kind of second nature. And individuals such as yourself may feel more confident in your ability to sustain the practice over the long term. Now, by day 7, child, you made it, right? You have a sense of accomplishment. As the first week of the time-restricted fasting draws to a close, you often experience a sense of achievement and satisfaction in reaching this milestone. You may celebrate your progress here. Don't go too far though, okay? Just continue to use that as a motivation to continue your fasting journey. And I say extend it past the 7 days and try to go for the full 30, right? And just know that you can overcome any challenges and achieve your goals if you can make it to the 7th day. So basically remember, there is light at the end of the tunnel, okay? So keep going. Now, on to my two favorite types, the circadian fasting, which is the method that aligns fasting periods with the body's natural circadian rhythm, optimizing metabolic processes and enhancing energy utilization. Athletes may experience improved endurance, recovery, and body composition with the circadian fasting. The other one is going to be my sunrise to sunset fasting, which is typically practiced in religious traditions like Ramadan. This form of fasting involves abstaining from food and drink from dawn to dusk. While it may pose challenges during training or competition, athletes can adapt their schedules to optimize nutrition and hydration outside of the fasting hours. Now, although they may seem the same, they are merely similar, and actually they are different. There's differences between the circadian fasting and sunrise to sunset. Keep in mind that both, though, involve aligning eating patterns with your natural cycles of light and darkness. However, the circadian fasting focuses on restricted eating to specific windows of time that align with the body's natural circadian rhythm, which regulates various physiological processes over a 24-hour cycle. Now, the fasting window may vary depending on individual preferences. So depending on your lifestyle, what factors typically, it range from like an 8 to 12 hours. So if you wake up earlier, you wake up later, whatever, you can still moderate and dictate your fasting, okay? And that's depending on when, like I said, you wake up or you go to sleep. The circadian fasting aims to also optimize your metabolic health, hormone regulation, and cellular repair by synchronizing your eating patterns with the body's internal clock. This is great for those that have different sleep cycles, like go to sleep like super late, super early. If your schedules are different, your workout regimen is different. Now, the sunrise to sunset fasting involves abstaining from food and drink from dawn, which is sunrise, to dusk, sunset each day. So you got to find out what those times are in your area. This is typically practiced for religious or spiritual reasons, such as during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan or certain Hindu fasting rituals. The fasting window is typically fixed to coincide with the natural cycle of daylight, regardless of individual sleep patterns or daily routines. Sunrise to sunset fasting may involve longer fasting durations compared to the circadian fasting, depending on the time of year and geographic location that you're in. Now, while both the circadian fasting and the sunrise to sunset fasting emphasize timing food intake with natural light-dark cycles, circadian fasting offers more flexibility in determining the fasting window based on individual preferences and lifestyles. Okay, just want to make sure that I'm clear on that. Additionally, the circadian fasting is primarily focused on optimizing metabolic health and overall well-being. I'm going to constantly repeat that so it kind of sinks in. Whereas the sunrise to sunset fasting often has religious or spiritual significance in addition to potential health benefits. Okay. Now, in the next couple videos, I will actually break both of these down with a recommended meal plan to follow. But until then, hopefully this was helpful. Let me know your feedback below. Have you tried either one of these? Are you currently doing Ramadan? I don't know when you're seeing this. You know, which one's your favorite? So just let me know. But until the next video, make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. I definitely want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to watch. And I know I go into my nerd moments and I try to get through it quickly, and then I try to get to the most interesting parts. But, you know, sometimes you just kind of skip ahead if the nerd moments aren't for you. But I will see you in the next video. And until then, stay vibrant and stay well. Ciao for now.